car's on the hoist. How about we just go and get that job done?
And I can assure you, I talked with my hands, so I was doing that while I was on the phone.
But those things are called anchors, right? I'm a hand guy too. Sharon laughs when she sees me on the phone. Like, I'm a hand guy too, right? Like, when I'm certain about something, I'm certain about it. Like, I am so convinced that this is the right thing to do. And when I sat in front of Corinne, I said to Corinne, what's our job here? Our job here is to describe to the customer how we do business without being salesperson. Because he absolutely unequivocally expected what time, if he had called the Ford store up the street, with all due respect, or the Chrysler store up the street, and had got that fixed operations manager that's been in the Ford store or the Chrysler store for 30 years, and had said, I'm going to cancel that job, what response would he have got from that guy, Luke? He would have got a very abrasive response, right? So the customer, when he called, has got a belief in their mind, their guard is up, they're not listening, right? They're just prepared to say something and not listen to what was saying. So when Corinne came in, I said, listen, we just want to articulate to the customer about why we did what we did, right? And the only way to do that is to do it with the passion and enthusiasm that we represent every day when we work in service. And by asking Fraser a question, Fraser, can I ask you a question? To me, that was the deal. That was the seal. Because 80% of the time, the customer says, yes, can I ask, do you understand the idea? We gave you a car on Saturday, you left yours here. We sourced parts on Saturday, we called you to confirm. Our technician came in early so that we could get your car done. We called you back with a cheaper price. Like, do you get the concept? Can you see where I'm coming from? And he said, yeah, of course I can. Right? So can we translate that to a car deal? No, I'm going to go home to think about it. Well, let me ask you a question, Lou. And we'll go on and on and on and on. But again, that right there is called framing. Right? We need to frame ourselves. Is that a traditional response from a fixed operations manager? Honestly, yes or no? No. We could call 100 fixed operation managers and say, we're going to cancel the job. 90% of them are going to say what? Okay. First of all,
you have to pay for what we're finished. And then
First of all, who took the call? A service advisor? Was it Lori?
Took it. No, Lana took it.
Lana. Not, okay, that's fine, no problem, cancel it. Like, sirens went off in the building. You know, all we talk about is taking care of the customer 2005 car. We even talked about the retail transaction of it, the fact that it's going to increase the value of his vehicle if he does the repair. And he went from not being able to pay the job, can I pay it in monthly installments, to coming in and paying the whole car down. Not because of what she said, but because of how she said it. And she rehearsed it, and she had a script in front of her, and she knew, I said to her, if they interrupt you, you stay right on the script.
Listen and then go back to the script.
Listen to what they say, and then go right back to the script. And she said, he interrupted me. I said, what'd you do? She said, I listened, and then I went right back to the script. And when he said, I want to think about it, she said, hey, come on, the car's off. Let's go ahead and get the job done. The work needs to be done anyway. How am I coming across to you right now? Reasonable guy? Needs to be done anyway, right? Like, we're going to take it down off the hoist, but all the best, like, that doesn't make sense. You're a reasonable guy, I'm a reasonable guy. You were recommended to our store from a guest of ours. So anyway, round of applause. Thank you very much. Well done. Very well done. So again, today, that's, and I know I'm goofy, guys. I know I'm neurotic about the sales industry, but I strongly believe, and I know there are believers in this room today, that also believe that sales is a science. It's not random, guys. Would we agree with that? We can make it random. We can absolutely make it random and just wing it. And we can be completely unhappy and dissatisfied and disenchanted with our lives. Or we can make it an absolute science, and what this does is this allows us to control, which is an overused word in the car business because there's never any control, but we can control the sale from start to finish by merely eliminating the beliefs that customers have about making decisions in the store. And in the meantime, we can build a customer base and a relationship with the customer unparalleled. Because isn't that what it's about? Building the relationship with the customer? I had a gentleman in my office yesterday, 30 years working at CIBC, an investment banker, hedge fund manager, VP of whatever. His number one message to any recruit coming out of university was the urgency to build a relationship with your customer that's unparalleled. I said, can you ever communicate too much? He says, never. As a matter of fact, he did a study, and I'll do this quick study and then I'll move on with this. But he did a study, well, in his last year at CIBC, and here's how the study went. He randomly sampled randomly sampled customers with CIBC checking accounts. Ones that had a negative balance in their checking account, all the way up to people that had $5 million in cash in the bank. And his question was, his hypothesis was, how much or how often should we communicate with our customer base? Fair enough? Right? Because banks are just like us, right? What do they want to sell? Money, right? We want to sell automobiles, just a commodity, right? The service is the difference. And the perception of the service is much different. Because we consider a bank manager to be a salesperson or a professional. A bank manager, a salesperson or a professional, Sharon? Professional. Somebody who sells cars, Lou, a salesperson or a professional? What's the community's perception?
Oh, sorry, it's a salesperson.
What's the urban legend?
Bad people.
I don't know about bad people, but certainly not the greatest respected, right? We don't sit around the dinner table when we're 11 thinking that we're going to work in the auto industry, right? But boy, if we treat our profession like we're professional, in other words, amateurs play and professionals practice, right? Boy, does that dynamic change. So anyway, I'll move the story along very quickly. So they randomly called X amount of customers. And they found that the more money that somebody had invested in the bank, the more they enjoyed to be communicated with. So somebody who had a negative balance in their checking account when they were called by a customer service representative would hang up on the person. Somebody that had $5 million in a checking account would actually have some type of discourse with the customer. So the immediate reaction was, the more money somebody has in the bank, the more we have to communicate with them, right? Is that the conclusion? Make sense? Right? More money, more communicate. Because when I called the person that had minus $50 in his checking account, and I told them I was a representative from CIBC, they hung up on me because it was 7 o'clock on a Friday night. When I called the person that had $5 million in cash, and I told him I was a customer service representative at CIBC, he was very engaged with me on the phone. So the initial conclusion at a senior level was, more money in the bank, absolute need for more communication. However, the study didn't stop there. Because then what they did is they taped the telephone calls from a video perspective.
Corinella, Centercom 101, please. Corinella, Centercom
But they also
101.
tape the video. Because can a customer see you over the phone? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Absolutely they can, right? And they noticed that when the customer service rep talked to that client that had minus $100 in the bank, did they come across enthusiastic, sharp as a tack, or an expert? No. They sat at their desk, they twiddled their pen, they leaned on their days, they went through the process. But as the amount of money started to grow, so as we got to 10 grand in cash sitting in an account, our enthusiasm jumped a bit. And 20, 30, 40, 50, 100, 200, 300. By the time you got to that customer that had $5 million in cash, how enthusiastic were you to speak to the customer? Really enthusiastic, right? How important was it for you to be known as somebody that's incredibly sharp? And certainly somebody that can help them. Pretty important, right? Or right? Which one is it? Yes? Yeah. So is the conclusion to the story that the person with more money in the bank needs to be communicated more? Or is the conclusion to the story the people we speak to need to be communicated at the same level in order to accomplish what we want to accomplish at the bank, which is gain the trust of the consumer, have the consumer buy more products from the bank, and have the bank be more profitable at year end? Because is that, so eloquently said by Sharon this morning, is that customer that's 21 that's got a minus $100 in their overdraft checking account one day going to have $5 million to play with? So again, it's not we change because of the amount of money, we change because of who we speak to. And that, we all agree, should never change. It doesn't matter who we speak to. The conclusion was the conclusion of the story was the average person with, I think, what did I say, over $1 million of holdings in the bank wanted to be communicated with 26 or 27 times a year.